back again after another defeat. I'm sick and tired of saying it now, to be honest, boys. We are, I think it's 24 games into the season. I've lost count. I've got no interest in the season, to be honest. But back again, and another defeat, this time to Chelsea, 3-1 at home. Nat, Liam, welcome. How are you, boys? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Bit deflated again, but yeah, I'm all right.
Nat, yourself?
Yeah, all good, mate. Numb to the pain, so
Yeah, it's hard to get worked up to want to film and do these podcasts at the minute, isn't it? Because it's same shitty, different day, if we're being honest. Oh, well, where do we start then, boys? I think we started the Chelsea game, don't we? Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. 3 goals from what I could only be describing as a lacklustre Wolves defensive performance. I thought Cole Palmer was non-existent and scored a hat-trick, and Tolu managed to nab probably the easiest goal he's going to score in his Wolves career. Terrible game. Rob Edwards obviously started with a new formation. I think it took us all by surprise, to be honest, when that lineup came out. Went with a 4 at the back, which is something that we've obviously all been crying out for such a long time now. And it didn't work, did it? Let's be frankly honest. And I don't think you can blame the formation. I know there's a lot of different opinions online, and I think we'll all get into that in a second. But there's a hell of a lot of opinions online about it. For me personally, you can blame the formation all you want, but I think it's a mentality thing now. If these players who have played a 4 at the back can't play a 4 at the back, and if Rob equally can't set up the team right, then things are never going to progress, are they? Liam, we'll jump to you first, mate. What did you think about the sudden change to 4 at the back?
It was a shock when I was with you at the time. It was a bit of a shock to see. Look, I'm all for a back four, and I think that in the summer, I definitely want to see us go to a back four. I want to see a little bit more this year, knowing that we're down. But I think starting it against Chelsea, it baffled me because you need your back four to be like together, switched on, closing the gaps in the positions. To do that against a team that are so dangerous, especially that front line of theirs, it baffled me. And we just, from the get-go, we just didn't look settled in the back four. Like Doherty looked all over the place. He never looked fit. Mosquera and Santi was that wide apart that João Pedro, I don't think there was 5 yards on him for the entire game. The only time they touched him was when they gave away the penalties. And Hugo Breno just, he gets the ball and he either does 10,000 step overs or that ball ends up back at Santi Breno. So all right, mate, it was just so poor. So poor. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't know where to go with it anymore, mate.
I could pull your hairs out anyway, because I'd have trouble doing mine, wouldn't I? I think we'll move over to that now, mate. What did you think about the 4 at the back? I think we'll definitely pull back and talk about the team lineup and maybe the full-backs a little bit later in here. What do you think, Nat, about the 4 at the back?
well, to start the game off, I thought it was a carbon copy of the start of the game that I saw a few times this season, and I've said that on the last few podcasts. We started really well, got at Chelsea, had some early momentum. I was obviously touching on what Liam said. Was shocked to see us go to a 4 at the back against Chelsea and to start it against that level of opposition. And I would love to kind of hear the actual reasoning of why Rob decided to do it against them. I know he said to be more aggressive and whatnot, but he's obviously watched Chelsea over the last however many games and saw things that he wanted to go and try and attack and target. Bit baffled by the selection though. Most notable one for me was Matt Doherty at right back, just in the sense of he's not been a right back the whole of his career. Let's be honest. He wasn't a right back when he came into the team under Mick. He's not been a right back when he's played under Nuno. He failed as a right back under Jose Mourinho at Spurs. He is the definition of a right wing back. When he played for Nuno and played his best football, he was a right wing back that was more forward thinking than he was defensive thinking. He was in the team for his aerial threat off goal kicks. So if he wasn't a right back at 20, 21, 22, 23, etc., he's not going to be a right back at the age of 34. Simple. Baffled me. It honestly did baffle me. Yeah, and I just think for as well as we started, and we managed to get more bodies forward when we were attacking in the first 10, Mane linking up quite well in higher areas. We then, as soon as we gave one away, just you could see the cracks that have shown every time we've kind of gone back into a 4 at the back and been fragile. And don't get me wrong, there's been times under previous managers that we've played 4 at the back. Lopetegui played 4 at the back quite a few times. But when it goes wrong for this Wolves team, it goes massively wrong. And like I said to you guys off air, it could have been a completely different game based off the start that we had if we didn't give away such a ridiculous penalty kick, but we did. And then, like you say, confidence goes. Sometimes we cut open in five at the back, in a five at the back systems. It was always going to be the same with four at the back. And the third goal just epitomised how weak mentally the players are, and then how sort of unorganised they looked in that four at the back because we just got absolutely cut through. But I think when you give away the errors that we gave away, we've only got ourselves to blame. We can't be sitting there saying it's because we went to four at the back. It's because of our own stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, do you know what, we should probably talk about some of the early signs that we saw before we probably lambast the players for the complete first half performance. I think the first 10 minutes, I think there were real promising signs as to what Wolves can offer with a four at the back. I really like the look of Angel Gomez. It's nice to see a centre midfielder who can bring the ball and pass the ball forwards rather than going sideways and backwards. I think Adam Armstrong, I don't think he did a lot in the first half, but the movement was there. And that's the one thing I've always said about Wolves. We lack movement, we lack structure, we lack positional. Like when Adam Armstrong was out wide, and although it wasn't working for him, he was making himself a nuisance by just dragging players at the bare minimum, and that's all you can ask from a player, especially someone who's on his debut, obviously. But like I say, for those first 10 minutes, if we're talking about bring the ball forwards and trying to cause Chelsea some problems, I think there was definitely signs that there is potential for this positional change and this tactical shift going forwards. But as again, like I say, we'll come to it later on. But the defensive errors cost us. What do you think about the first 10 minutes, Liam?
Yeah, I think, the idea was there, weren't it? It looked like Santi and Mosquera were trying to put that ball into like Tolo's feet and get Mane on the ball. The only thing I would say is that I've noticed a lot more under Rob Edwards is once something's working, we just do it overkill. Like, a few games back where João Gomez was doing them little flicks. First two flicks come off, but then we do it for the next five. But the other team have already anticipated it's happening. It was the same against Chelsea at times where Mosquera and Santi kept playing that in-swinging ball to the feet of Tolo and Mane. In the end, they started to get touch tight on Tolo and Mane, and we couldn't get that ball to work, and we were just giving it away. It's like, other than that, I don't know what tactically how we tried to set up to try and beat them, even though we played a fullback. I don't know what we were trying to do, other than that overkill of ball that really didn't work.
I think,
but like you say, you start off well, but then you get a stupid penalty like that. Like, I don't get it. We didn't make a tackle anywhere on the pitch other than near our own box. And João Gomez, if you watch the first penalty, Joe was very lucky. He kind of pulled out of a tackle a little bit, didn't he? And I was thinking, why am I doing it in the box? And then Doherty goes to do it. How experienced Doherty is, João Pedro was going away from goal. Like, baffles me, the decisions that they're making. It's just not good enough because it's every game now. Every game. It's not like the one-off.
yeah, I think I could semi-understand what they was trying to do. I think obviously Chelsea's main weak spot for me is probably Tosin. He's just not at the standard of a usual Chelsea footballer. And I think we were trying to exploit Tolu using his aggression and his ability to bring the ball down and play it into players. I think that's what we were going for. I think you said perfectly. We tried it overkill. We tried it probably 4 or 5 times in the first 10 minutes. And then eventually Chelsea got wind of what we were doing and just put 2 men on Tolu. And then that completely disrupts that pattern of play, and then you have to find different avenues to be able to break down the Chelsea back line. And I think it's something that we struggled at. Nat, going back to you, what do you think about the first 10 minutes, Mike?
Yeah, like I said, I thought we were lively. I thought we had a lot of success. So I think we picked our moments quite well, and it's always nice at the start of the game because it's almost like the players get a bit of a clean slate because fans are right behind the team. It's 0-0. There's no toxicity because for that brief period in a game, you're in a game and you've got a chance. And do you know what I mean? There's a chance to be positive and get better team. Whereas as soon as that first goal goes in, because of the run that we've been in, the atmosphere does drop, doesn't it? But yeah, I thought we attacked well. I thought we chose our moments well. Tolu and Mane linked up well, and it's a shame that we couldn't have kept that sort of. We would never have kept it up for the whole game in terms of the consistency and in which we're attacking and sort of penning Chelsea back to an extent. I'm not meaning like penning them back in their 18-yard box. We were keeping them at bay. They didn't really create anything in that first 10. It was pretty much all Wolves in terms of an attacking sense, even though sort of possession might have been fairly shared. So when I say penning back, I mean we didn't give much away, and we were the ones that were sort of aggravating going forward. But it was just short lived, wasn't it? That's all I can say. It was Tolu Mane playing well to an effect. I thought Armstrong looked sharp in terms of dropping in, trying to play one touch. Movement was good, and then yeah, like Angel Gomez tried to get on the ball, and then unfortunately Joe was just kind of mismanaged in that role. Personally, think, but yeah,
Yeah, it's honestly, lads, it's just so deflated, isn't it? Trying to do a podcast and talk all about Wolves and be happy week on week out, and do you know what? It does get the better of everyone. I think we'll obviously talk about the penalties now and the shambolic defending. I think Levy's already spoke roughly about the first penalty. It was again sloppy football from Wolves. I think we had a couple of chances to clear our lines, and then for, like I say, Joe Gomez and Doc to keep biting away at players. This isn't. I'm not even talking about a big six bias here, but everybody knows at a Premier League level, if you keep niggling away at someone's ankle, if you keep trying to get touch tight and kicking ankles or pulling shirts back, the refs will give a penalty. And that's not even a big six bias. That the bias is they hate Wolverhampton Wanderers, but both of these penalties were penalties on the day. They absolutely were. And you physically in a Premier League game cannot keep kicking the ankles of especially someone like João Pedro. The Brazilian footballers in the Premier League are renowned for just dropping to the floor. We've seen it ourselves. We've seen it ourselves with some of our own players. Carry on, Liam. Take the floor with that first penalty.
The one where Hugo Breno loses at a 1v1 with Neto.
Yeah.
It comes from that
Yeah.
side, doesn't it? And again, Hugo struggled with Neto so bad, didn't he? And that it just again, like, he was just allowing Neto to do what he wants. Everyone knows that Neto is going to be cutting in on his left every single time. And Hugo, you might as well have just gave him free rein and just let him do it, because not once, the one time he did try and do a tackle, he just got out muscled by Pedro Neto. Do you know? It started from there, and then, like you say, I think João Gomez starts that like panic because he just starts trying to. I don't know why he was trying to do a bit like he was just like trying to kick heels, and then he kind of stops, and Doherty just comes over with all his experience and he's doing it. Joe's always going to go down there, isn't he? And I think that surely them players in their heads know, yeah, like it's 0-0, keep it safe, no stupid penalties, no silly goals. And you go into something like that, and then, we'll go 1-0 down. The first thing for me is if I'm going down, if we're 1-0 down, I'd want us to slow the game down, someone get down injured, stop the momentum of Chelsea. And then Mosquera just goes and pushes someone in the back with two hands. Like, you couldn't have made it. You talk about bias with the referees, which, I thought the ref was terrible on Saturday. But we make it so easy for them because that he's always going to get the first penalty. They're never going to change that opinion. And then Mosquera pushes him twice, two hands in the back. Like, regardless if it was started off outside of the box or not, there's still contact in the box. It was a clear as day penalty. And how the players was arguing with the ref about the decision, like, honestly, I just don't think there's a leader at all in that team, is there? We've said this all season, there isn't, and it just proved again on Saturday that it was just so poor.
Yeah. I don't know how you feel about it, Nat, but I probably agree a little bit with Liam Keane with something that he said on the Express and Star podcast about our only real sort of leader potentially being someone like Ladislav Krejci in the future. And I know it's a different formation, but with Ladislav Krejci being out on that left-hand side in a five at the back, obviously, which obviously completely defeats the objective of what I'm saying about wanting to be in the four. But if Krejci's out on that left-hand side, I don't think he makes that stupid decision. I don't think he allows the team to make such stupid, reckless decisions like Mosquera did on that left-hand side. And we all know how much we are massive, massive fans of Mosquera on this channel. But something's got to change with certain elements of his play.
Yeah, I think we are a team that lacks leadership. We're a team that lacks composure, probably as well. Not just leadership. In the difficult testing moments, we always seem to fall massively short. Going back to the first penalty, it's just so needless. And like Liam said, the most experienced member of our team on the pitch to give that away is just ridiculously naive. You're in a control situation with 3 Wolf shirts in and around the player. João Pedro is going towards the corner flag. He's basically touching the edge of the box. So to give away that was criminal. It's difficult to say that maybe somebody stops that from happening because you can't control other players' actions, right? But it's just that need for calm. Like, he managed the situation. Everyone in the stands that knows anything about football isn't expecting someone to make a tackle there. They're expecting them to continue to show them away from goal. And if that ball gets played back, you've done your job in that situation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was just mind-boggling. And then you touch on Mosquera, and I don't know if you guys clocked it, but just before he's gone and shoved Pedro, they've run alongside each other and almost like shoulder barged, and João Pedro's knocked Mosquera off balance, and it was as if he's just saw red. Like, he couldn't comprehend the fact that he'd been out barged by João Pedro, and then he goes and makes a really rash decision, which is blatantly obvious. I mean, the only question mark I'd have is I'm really unsure if that is in the box. Personally, to me, watching it back, the contact happens slightly outside the box, but then the only thing you've got is, does double jeopardy then get taken out of context and he's getting a red card and it's a free kick? So listen, it's by the by, isn't it, really? But you're just looking at it and you're just thinking again, his run, João Pedro, is not going in towards the goal. It's going across goal towards the edge of the box. It's just stupidity and a lack of composure, and the players just looked unnerved at the majority of defensive situations.
Yeah, I agree. Look, again, with what you were just saying about Mosquera and the contacts that João Pedro had on him, the problem for me with Mosquera, and I can't reiterate it enough, we love Mosquera. I think he's brilliant. But if Chelsea are aware how much of a hothead that Mosquera is, other teams are going to... Imagine when you come and play these shithouse teams. I mean, we're playing Forest. We're playing Sean Dyche's Forest on Wednesday, and they've got a big factor up front in Igor Jesus. Even Chris Wood, if he was fit. And if they know that, if they just give Mosquera a little tickle on the leg, or they're going to poke his ear, or to just do something to irritate him, they know that he's going to do something stupid in the game. And for as good as a defender as he is, for his athleticism, for him to be able to bring the ball out of defence and create chances, this is the stuff that's got to improve. And the chap's like 24 years old now, or 25 years old. He's not a 20-year-old kid anymore. And I think sometimes we forget that as fans. Like, he started for us when he was young and he just came from Colombia and he was a prospect, whereas now he has to get these little things right, because the more he's doing them, the less likely he becomes a Premier League player. And that's the simple fact for me. And I love him, but what can we say? Anything you want to add on that, boys, before we move on to the Wolves goal?
We're 2-0 down. You know, like I've said already, we only make tackles around the box. For me, why aren't we hitting them a little bit harder around the halfway line, you know, trying to make it a bit of a contest there? Instead, we're letting it be so easy. We're 2-0 down, and then Carl Palmer just runs across our midfield and he's open freely. Like, surely one of the centre halves, one of them have got to click that he's in opening space to call someone in there. Surely one of the centre mids now can read the danger. Shit, we're already 2-0 down. What we're going to do now? Like, we need to try and stop the gaps. We always seem to be reactive to everything rather than being in there first. And, you know, we haven't mentioned one player yet, but he was absolutely dreadful. And again, like, the attacks that come down that side, just a bit of a joke. And that third goal for me was just made me think these players really piss me off, because they don't care. And if people are backing them saying, oh, they work hard. Hey, I'm on 60 grand a week. I should think that they work hard. Working hard is not jogging back. And I'm going to talk about Wang, but he jogs back. He points Kukurea so many times in that game for someone else to mark him, and it's his man really to mark. And he points, he would always point to someone to pick up Kukurea when he knew that he couldn't get back in there because he was not fit enough to get back in. And he'd just go and plonk himself on Casado, when surely that's not tactical. Why? He was just passing everybody on every time. And there's no coincidence that when he goes off, our side just changes.
Yeah, Christian Clown, he had a fantastic game, didn't he, on Saturday? Like, he tore us apart. I hate the bloke with a passion. Honestly, Cucurella, nah, get rid, man. Just send him back to the league because I just hate that guy. He's live wire at the end of the day, and he's athletic, and he runs around from minute 1 to minute 90. And if you're not prepared to track your runner, you're gonna be, you're gonna be given problems. And Huang, like I said, I completely agree with what you're saying. Every single time that I saw Huang trying to man mark Cucurella, he'd run one side and then start ball watching and jog into the middle of the pitch. You are a professional footballer. You are an international footballer. And football isn't a hard game when you think about it. It's 11v11. You've got a man to mark in your defensive transitions. Mark your man, unless you're being told something different. And then in that place, we have to have a go at the manager. But for him to just keep pointing, no, because Matt Doherty obviously doesn't have the turn of pace like he did when he was 5 years younger. Like, you have to be regimented in a four at the back. And I think that's something that we've always struggled with, the discipline and being regimented to know that when you've got a man, you follow that man in your transitions, and then you have to be smart enough, quick enough, brave enough on the counter to be able to go and make magic going forward. Now, what do you think about Wang's performance?
I think the reaction when he got subbed probably sums it up, doesn't it? I just can't understand the obsession there to keep putting him in. And I think it's a carbon copy of the Strand Larson situation, isn't it? But Rob started to make the right choices around Strand Larson and kept him on the bench, and it helped the atmosphere. It doesn't make any sense to me to continue to play Hwang Hee-chan because he doesn't get any sort of backing from the fans because they're fed up of seeing him underperform. And let's not beat around the bush; he has underperformed for maybe 2 seasons now. He's part to play in the third goal. He's jogging back. He then, instead of going and closing down Cucurella when the back four are in a shape, points Doherty over there, which means that no one is tracking the Chelsea runner. He makes a pretty straightforward forward run because Hwang would then pick him up. But he can't match him stride for stride because the Chelsea player's about 5 yards in front of him, sprinting, and Hwang's jogging back in. I don't know. I just think for the good of the team, for the good of Hwang, he probably should have gone in January. Albeit I understand that we've not gambled on signings because of the situation that we're in. But he's just another one that the fans are tired of seeing play, and I've been very critical of him in past podcasts, so I'm not going to absolutely hammer him in this one because people already know my thoughts on it. But he doesn't. He, his best attributes is attacking space in behind. He's not a type of player that you want to have lots of touch on the ball. He's not the type of player to be renowned for his defensive displays. So, from my perspective, I'm sat there thinking, if he doesn't perform as a 9 with less responsibility, why are you then going to give him more responsibility as a wide player, both defensively and offensively, and give him more touches of the ball? And he potentially needs to drop a little bit deeper to go and support the play. It just, I was also baffled by that decision.
Yeah, look, Huang's obviously a divisive figure as it was what it is, and I think it's I think it's time for him to be dropped, but it looks like he's got a hamstring injury, so maybe Rob's counted his lucky blessings at the minute, because if there is that release clause that people keep talking about in his contract about him having to play games, then and he can't play games whilst he's injured. So don't believe that for a minute. I think it says a lot where a lot of managers have continued and wanted to play Wang and talk about his tactical awareness and stuff like that, but it's not working. And it's the same as Strand Larson when he was at the club. Like, if you're getting booed off the pitch constantly, you're not going to want to perform, are you, at the end of the day? And that's not me giving Wang any credit. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't want to see him in a Wolves shirt again. I don't want to see him in a Wolves shirt again. It's nothing against the bloke. I think he's a top bloke, and you can see how much time and effort he puts into duties off the pitch. But on the pitch, shit. There is no other word for it. Like, you've got to have other options. You've got to.
Strike similarities to you at Tracy Island, you.
Oh, mate, do you know what? Honestly, we very, our Tracy Island debut did not go down very well. The gaffer
Oh,
is not
God.
happy with me. I've got to make my redemption this week, I hope. And if
I want to watch.
It may be a live stream of the game on the old Golden Chat, mate.
And then
No,
Wang
but
can review your performance.
mate, do you know, honestly, if you could see how bad I was in the last performance, and if I'm anything like I was, then I'm probably gonna have to stop podcasting because people would not believe that I actually have any football knowledge if they saw how bad I played. But boys, let's move on to the second half. We've talked half an hour about how sharp we were in the first half. Let's move on to some positives. There's not much to touch on in the second half, and then we'll move on to some other segments I want to talk about. But the second half, if we judge a game by just one half, we won 1-0, and we'll be talking about having 3 points here. It was a corner in from Mateus Mane. It was a very crafty header. But Adam Armstrong, to be honest, he headed it into the right area rather than heading towards goal. And Tolu did well. He might have been from 6 yards out, but he battled well and made sure that he scored his goal. It almost set the second half up to be a bit of a game-changing half. But alas, Chelsea with their usual Chelsea tactic. To be honest, didn't they remind you of like 2019 Brentford? I reckon they spent more time on their arse on the floor than actually standing on the pitch, to be honest. But yeah, what do you think about the goals? The goal boys, and just give us a quick sum up of the second half if you can, and things you were impressed with, and then we'll move on.
Like you mentioned Adam Armstrong already. I thought his movement was excellent. He didn't press like he needed to, press like he wanted to. Like he was sprinting players down, and I thought that was impressive. And on the corner, his little dive and header flick was just like, he was just so clever, weren't he? And Tolu, how many goals have we seen him score like that for his old team? Like he knows how to finish in those type of areas, doesn't he? So it was a good finish. I think bringing Rodrigo on was a good sub to make, but like I say again, it's just too late, isn't it? And I think like the second half, I think Joe Gomez kind of stuck to his position a little bit more. I think it helped us because in that first half, like, he's that emotionally attached to the game. When we're losing, you'll just watch him just start chasing players because he's desperate to win it back. But then it just drags him out, and you can't do that against Chelsea. Whereas I think the reset happened at the right time, allowed him just to settle back in again, didn't it? And like you say, it could have been a whitewash. It could have been absolutely horrendous. We won the half 1-0. I don't think they had really many clear-cut chances, but it's just too late, isn't it? You can't be 3-0 down and then decide to turn up and win the game 1-0 because you're going to lose every game like that.
I agree. I don't think Chelsea created a lot all game. Let's just go in 3 goals, to be honest. I think we were the masters of our own demise at points in that game. Second half,
Yeah, couldn't get much worse than the first half, could it? I'll try and be positive, but it annoys me a little bit. So, not annoys me to be positive. I'd love to be positive, but the sort of turning it on when the game's done, turning it on when you're 3-0 down and there's no pressure on you to go and perform, that annoys me. It's done it so many times this season. I'll touch on the goal. Obviously, really, you guys have mentioned it. It's actually quite a poor corner from Molineux, but Adam Armstrong made something out of nothing for me. And I was quite maybe critical or a bit pessimistic about his signing, but I was actually quite impressed with his performance. So he shut me up on debut. Fair play to him. Lovely, lovely little flick. Got down ridiculously low to go and flick it on, almost like a backwards header. And then Tolly, what I think I said on the last podcast, he just needed one to go in off his backside or something, and it dropped to him on the swivel. And he's tapped it home, and that'll do him the world of good. Even though it's not sort of amounted to any points or gain for Wolves, it will have done his confidence the world of good. He really needed that. And I saw him getting a bit of stick as well from some. And again, I don't know what more people want from him. He's the focal point. He pins defenders. He brings others into play. I don't really think he can do much more given the circumstances that he's playing in. In terms of after the goal, I thought we huffed and puffed without creating a fat lot. Didn't give too much away to Chelsea. The one thing that does stick in my mind from the game is, I don't know if you guys remember that last 10 minutes when we've had 2 goal kicks. We had about a 3-minute spell, right, where we kept getting goal kicks and kept giving them the ball back. I don't know if you recall, we had a goal
Yeah,
kick, gave it to
yeah.
Santabrano. He's tried to break a line, give it away, created a chance. I think Pedro Neto had a shot, gone over, get the ball back. Ladislav Krejci, straight away, gives it away. Neto runs in the box, hits a side net in. And I'm thinking, if anything sums up our season, it's that game in particular. First half, 2 catastrophic errors in the penalties. And then second half, just the inability to be composed and find a teammate. I thought Angel Gomez tried. I thought he tried a few really nice forward passes, tried to get people in behind, and create things. I just think Rob's got to really settle on his midfield three now, and I'd really like to see Joe Gomez be the one that sits in the base because he's trying to do far too much. No criticism to him, but I think, like Liam says, he's desperate to win. He could have gone and joined another club. He hasn't. He stayed for whatever reason that is. Might be because he loves the club. Might be because it wasn't the right club that was coming in for him. The timing wasn't right, etc. But that guy is a guy that runs through brick walls every single game, and he's probably, in fact, I'll pose this question to you guys. In my opinion, there's him and Mane since he's come into the team that are probably the only ones that can leave this season with any sort of credit for me because they go into every game, they get stuck in, they try and impact it positively. When things aren't going well, they're the ones that are still trying to plug away. But I just think we need to take some responsibility away from Joe Gomez and allowing him to just be that single pivot in a midfield three, um, to just put out the fires, break the play up, give the ball to other players. You've now got Bellegarde, Angel Gomez on a they can go and create things, they can go and attack the box. Let Joe Gomez do what Joe Gomez is best at because at this moment in time, with how things are and how raised emotions are, fans are coming away and having some listen, they're entitled to their opinions, but there's some crazy opinions going around on Twitter and stuff. And I'm coming out the grounds and I'm hearing Joe Gomez was shit and all the rest of it. The geezer's trying to do far too much. That's why he's not performing. Do you know what I mean? If you allow Joe Gomez to play Joe Gomez's game, allow him to pick the ball up, go and win the ball, pass it to somebody else, he's not going to make a 15, 20-yard forward pass. That's not his game. He shouldn't really be the one that's carrying the ball forward. It's not really his game. Like, he's a basic football player that does the dirty side of the game to an elite level. We just need to stop expecting far too much. And we also need to just understand that these are a group of players that aren't good on the whole. So as much as we want to say, is there anyone else that you think deserves any credit from this season? And when I say that, I don't just mean through work rate, I mean end product as well.
I think only one player for me I don't think it takes a mass amount of credit. I think the only player that springs to mind who can come away from the season, I think, or at least in some games impacted maybe a result, would probably be Ladislav Krejci. I don't think that's consistent enough, but I think that he's probably been one of our better players. I think he's the only one who at the summer transfers can say, yeah, all right, I've played well enough to be able to say that I tried to keep the club up. And I think it's a small amount of credit, but it's about the only amount of credit that I can give him. But I agree with what you're saying. I think Mane and Joao Gomez are probably the only players who definitively could come out and say, I'd put my arse on the line for Wolverhampton Wanderers. It wasn't enough, but I tried. And I think Krejci can put himself in that conversation.
I'd probably say, I know he hasn't, contributed much, but I'd probably say Rodrigo Gomez. I think when he comes onto the pitch, it's his best moments of the season. When he comes on, when he starts, he gets a bit lost, but when he comes on, I think he does give us that bit of an edge that we've kind of been lacking. I think he would probably have it as well from me. I would like to see a little bit more from him, a bit more consistency, because I think there is a really good player in there, yeah, and I do like him, actually, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Rodrigo Gomez because that kind of moves me on to away from Chelsea, if we can, boys, and talking about something that's really starting to annoy me, and people may disagree, but the fullbacks that we have at the club, or wing backs per se at the club, just aren't good enough. Bueno, he's probably a player that's got quite a bit of credit this year. And I'm starting to really, really get agitated by his performances. I think that game in particular against Chelsea, and look, people are allowed off days. Absolutely they are. And I know that sometimes Hugo Bueno delivers moments in games where we've lacked creativity and he will at least try and get the ball forward. He will either try a shot or get a ball in. But if you're talking to me about an actual defender, and that's his role, he's a wing back, but he's a defender at the same time. He's not up to the Premier League. Look, Pedro Neto, who has got hamstrings made of fucking cheese sticks, The geezer was running at him and taking him on, man for man, every single occasion. The chap can't run at 100% like he used to for Wolves because he tore his hamstring that many times and got injured that many times. And he beat Hugo Bueno 1-for-1 every single time. And it's not just his lack of pace either. I don't think he tackles especially well. I don't think his defensive positioning is good. His aerial ability is non-existent. The only things that we were really praising him for was his delivery, beating a man, finding the target man in the box. I'm yet to see it. This isn't just the Chelsea game. This has been a lot of games for me now where Hugo Bueno isn't performing, and I want him to perform. There's a product who was essentially came out of our academy. He's been at the club since he was 16 years old. I want Hugo Bueno to do well. But for me, he's just not showing enough. And I don't think he's good at the back. I don't think he's necessarily good going forward. I don't know if you boys agree with me.
Yeah, I said it earlier that I think his performances have started to dip. Every time he gets the ball, it goes back. And at times this season, he's not really had anyone in front of him. And there was at times at Chelsea where if Mane is on that left-hand side, he's always cutting in, isn't he? So he does have sometimes not that much support down that left-hand flank, but he did on Saturday because Adam Armstrong kept making those runs. He kept making those little runs in the channel. So surely as a fullback, you're like, if you're not brave enough to take your man on, as soon as you receive it, you should be knowing where it's going. If you're not brave enough to take your man on, surely you make those runs to in behind to try and get in there. So all you've got to do is cross it in. He always seems to like the ball to his feet, and then he starts to kind of run at the defender, then loses confidence, and he gets lost in what to do and just turns back. I think he needs to, if he starts there again and Adam Armstrong's starting again, he needs to kind of put that ball into that area to try and help get Armstrong in behind and just give Hugo a bit of confidence himself. Like you say, we've praised his crossing before. We've got Tolu in the box now that is just waiting for a chance in the box to be put into on his head or, around the 6-yard area, and he's just not putting it in. I just don't understand it. And if you're not having a good game, on the ball and bringing anything in attack. If you're a fullback, surely you're thinking that you're going to be stopping, the one thing you're going to do is be solid in defence. And yeah, Neto is we all know how good Neto is, but how easy was it for him to just keep cutting in? Surely there's something in Hugo's head to think, number one, I need cover, so I'm going to call someone over to help me. Or number two, I'm going to be that deep that I'm deciding that Neto's going to the byline because of my position. So you're standing him up so he's got to go that way. So he's going to be crossing on his right foot. So you take that impact of him cutting in every time. He just didn't do it, did he? And he just didn't lay a finger on Neto for the entire game. And when he did, he lost out and conceded a goal for me.
Yeah, and we all know Pedro Neto hasn't got a right foot. That's Hugo Bueno.
I think it's a difficult one for me. I think he's had a good run in terms of it was around sort of the Everton game. He had a good 3-4 game spell in the team. I quite fancy David Muller-Wolf. I know some people don't. I think he goes forward better. I think it's just a shame that when he has been in the team, we've been a bit negatively set up with not a lot around, so he's always been quite isolated when he's attacked. Yeah, I don't think Bueno's ever really set the world alight, and I've always been shocked to see. I remember maybe it was this season or two ago when I saw links with Dortmund, and I'm thinking I personally don't see it. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it's like there's a player in there, especially if we were to drop down to the Championship. He's just maybe lacked sort of game time in an elite league. He obviously had a fairly productive loan spell last season, but on the whole, he's not played a lot of professional football in top leagues. And yeah, he defensively leaves a lot to be desired. And I just think going forward, he needs to back himself more in those one-on-ones, sorry, to really go and drive it at a fullback when he's in and around the sort of outside of the box. I know it's sort of embedded in the game now because of Pep, but just get sick of to get the ball in a good position and turn back, play back. Yeah, would I be disappointed to see him leave in the summer? No. Would I be totally against him staying? No. I'm just sort of sat on the fence with him, to be honest. But if someone said to me, would I rather go forward with, I'd choose David Muller-Wolf, personally.
I think I agree with that. I think I'd rather go forward with Molineux, and I think people will obviously disagree with us, and let us know what you think down in the comments as well. Who would you rather see start at that left back position potentially next year, or left wing back for the rest of the season? Leo?
I know what you're saying about Wolf. I think the one thing that he has in his locker is he's able to make that run in behind, isn't he? We've seen it when he plays that he does make those runs in behind. I chose it in my lineup the weekend. I think I'd put Rodrigo and Pedro Lima one side and Rodrigo the other, just because I'm fed up of seeing boring wing backs when we're trying to play that way. I think if you any good team that has wing backs, they're like wingers, aren't they? When you've got the ball. So yeah, I'd move Rodrigo across at the moment and play something totally different.
Yeah. Okay, boys. Let's move on, because we've got a busy schedule coming up this week, haven't we? We've got 2 games. We've got the Hooters away East Midlands derby, should we call it, or the Midlands derby coming up on Wednesday, with Nottingham Forest at the City Ground, and then obviously an FA Cup draw against Grimsby. Oh God, I know. Do you know what? I dread to think what the atmosphere is going to be like around Wolves if we go to Grimsby.
We got Arsenal, didn't we?
Arsenal the week after, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I do not want to go to Grimsby, even if we win 1-0 and snatch it. It's honestly, I think that the toxicity could creep back in, because it's not.
I'd take a 1-0, mate. Right now, I'd take a 1-0 against Grimsby just to get it out of the way.
Yeah, but, right, we've got to be a bit like, we've got to be. I'll post to you the question. Obviously, we spoke off air about this, and I can't find the quotes, but there's Liam Keane said it on the Express and Star podcast about Rob Edwards saying that he's probably going to have to revert back to a 5 because we weren't good enough in a 4 today. I think he'll probably play the 5 against Forest. I think we all probably agree on that. But when we do go to Grimsby, as much as we're obviously going to put a team prediction out there later on in the week, do you think he goes back to the back 4? Is that maybe a place where he would try it to get a bit of confidence with that system?
I don't know if I would personally go back to the back 4, just because I think if we do lose, how much negativity is that back 4 going to have? You know, and I think I'd maybe try and wait until the end of the season before we see it again. So I just don't want to ruin the idea of us moving to a back 4, because I think in the Championship we can't stay in a back 5, as simple as. Maybe the back 5 helps us. If those wing backs are high up the pitch, I think it could help us to an extent against Grimsby, because surely it's going to pin their fullbacks and their wingers back and push them up that high up. If they're really high, hopefully it creates space for Mane. But if we do go to a back 4, I think you need more attacking players on the pitch to help Mane get on the ball, because he's going to be the one, isn't he, that can unlock that defence. So I think if you go a back 4, I don't want to see us filled with centre midfielders. I think we need players who are good at having the ball on the turn and being able to make a run. Yeah, that's my opinion. What about you, Nat?
I'd expect us to be in a back 5 for Forest for sure, and I wouldn't be against the 4 against Grimsby personally, because as nice as a cup run would be, it'll just sort of fizzle out later on in the rounds. For me personally, that's where I'm at. I don't see us going up against a competent team and producing any sort of pulling up any trees, so to speak. And if you can't beat Grimsby in the back 4, these players can only look at themselves and blame themselves, really. Obviously, I'm well aware Grimsby beat Man United earlier in the season, but there's another reason potentially to go back 4 now. United stuck with their system, 5 at the back. So yeah, I'd be frustrated if Rob is sat there saying, I'm not going to go and play 4 at the back because it didn't work, because you thought it was going to work against Chelsea. What's all of a sudden changed your mindset and mentality? Like I said earlier, I think the reason we lost that game was our own individual errors in the penalty box. It could have been a completely different game. If you truly believe that you want us to play that way going forward, then and we're all saying it was silly to do it against Chelsea, then it should be the complete opposite against Grimsby now. And we should have more than enough, in my opinion, to go and beat a team. Even though we're sat rock bottom with 8 points, we should still have enough to go and beat Grimsby in a 4 at the back or a 5 at the back system. In head of Forest. Go on, sorry.
Do you think it's a case that if you go to a back 4, you kind of want to see it probably every game, so we get suited in that back 4 position, defensively.
The thing is, and what we've got to be aware of, in my opinion, is we can sit here now and say, oh, we're going to play a back four because we're preparing for next season. But on the flip side of that, how many of these football players are still going to be at the club come the start of next season? So I'm torn between, it's good learning for Rob in a sense because he'll get chance to see this new system in play and the strengths and weaknesses and different ways he can attack whilst the team are in that system. But if we're talking about we're going to bed it in because we want to be ready to hit the ground running straight away in a back four for match day one in the championship, you're looking at a non-starter really, other than maybe a select few that will still be here because it will be a completely new look Wolves team. So there's got to be the right mindset and mentality behind it in the sense of I've got no qualms with Rob coming out against Chelsea and saying, look, we did this because we wanted to be aggressive and we saw and identified areas in Chelsea's game that we could go and highlight. I don't know, for example, i.e., we noticed that João Pedro normally drops off the back line rather than running in behind. So we felt that we didn't need the extra body because they're playing in front of the back line, for example. Right. So we can then gamble another body or put more pressure higher up the pitch and not have to worry as much defensively. Just as an example. So if you can be flexible, if you've got an idea of we've watched that opposition, scouted them, highlighted what they're good at and what they're not so good at, thought the back suits because we're gonna try and do this out of possession, we're gonna try and do this in possession. If it's a case of that, no issues. If it's a case of I'm running out of ideas or I'm doing it because the fans want us to do it, then I'm not buying it. And like I said, it's a real difficult one for the people that are like, let's plan for next season because the squad will look completely different, in my opinion, for better or for worse. Who knows? Because we're letting Fosun and club staff deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, if I could just chuck my 50 pence on that before we quickly move on, talking about going into planning mode for next summer. And if Rob Edwards plays a four at the back against teams like Forest and Burnley and West Ham and all those kind of teams, even like at Brighton and Spurs, because they're not exactly setting the world a lot this year. I think it's only fair to give, if you're going to do it, you've got to give certain players certain opportunities. Like, my biggest take on it would be Rodrigo Gomez hasn't had enough game time in a Wolves shirt for me. And I know other people say he's probably a bench player, and other people will say he's a star boy, get him in from the start, and he's someone who will split opinions. Like, at this moment in time, he's more of one of our natural wingers. And if you don't give him even just a chance to be able to play in those roles, then when it comes to potentially swapping to that back four next summer, what do you do with these types of players then? Because Rodrigo Gomez, for me, genuinely looks like he has a fair bit of potential, but he's not a right back, so he has to play on the wing. So then you have to make those judgments with your planning for the end of this season to be able to. But again, like with Nat said, with credit to, we've scouted a team and we believe that playing with wingers is better for this team. Or, okay, we're playing Liverpool, we know they're going to press hard, we know they're going to get in our faces, we know they're going to push an extra man forward. We prefer the five at the back because we want a bit of defensive stability. If you can navigate your planning around specific teams, then I think you can get away with it. Because at the end of the day, as good as what Coventry and Middlesbrough and Millwall, for example, and Ipswich have been so far in the Championship this season, they've not got the types of quality players that your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your City and your Chelseas have. So if you can differentiate between the teams that you're playing and you can navigate areas that you think you can attack with a back four, I think there needs to be exactly what he did at Middlesbrough. I think there needs to be this tactical fluidity to be able to play in certain situations and certain games and try and attack opposition. Should we try and get rid of some of the doom and gloom off the podcast, boys? I'm going to spring a little game sort of thing on you because I haven't spoken to either about it so far. I just saw it come up on my social media and I quite enjoyed it. So I'm not going to take any participation. It's very quick and simple. I'm going to give 10 Portuguese Wolves players, and I want you to blind rank them from 1 to 10. So in any order that you feel them. Obviously, when I say the names, you two can have a little discussion and decide where you would like to put them. from obviously 1 being the best and 10 being the worst. Are you ready, boys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
going to go with Matheus Nunes, number 1. Just remember, you don't know anybody who's coming up in this list.
I personally trying to think of all the Portuguese players that we've had.
There's more
I'm
than
going to
10,
stick him
but there's
in.
only 10 on this list.
I'm going to stick him in 8.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
What?
going to say
Wait.
I'd agree with 8. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely not higher, which is a shame because I think I quite enjoyed watching him play for us, to be fair.
He could have. He had the potential to be a real star. So your next one, boys, is Daniel Podence.
I'd go middle of the pack, Liam, 5th.
Yeah. 6.
Maverick, absolutely. He sort of split opinion, didn't he? But what we do to have a player like him now?
Yeah, he'd walk in that team there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would, mate. He really would. I'd
Get
take
with
5.
5. Okay. Daniel Podence.
5, yeah.
Number 5. Number 3 of the list of players is Rui Patricio.
Only because I know what my top 2 is. I'd probably say 3rd. For me, I think.
Go 4, but I was gonna go 4. You've got to think Coutinho and Neves are coming out.
Yeah.
Is there another Portuguese player don't think there is? Yeah, I'm happy with 3rd. I think that's about right.
In that case, I'll throw to you Diogo Jota.
Oh,
I'll
Diogo, I'm
say
so
2nd.
sorry. Yeah, 2nd. Yeah,
2nd. Do you agree, Liam?
2nd.
Okay. We'll go for the king
We
next.
fucked that so much
We'll go for the king, Fabio Silva.
just because he scored again. Shit.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't land him in 10. Let's go with Vitinha.
In a Wolves shirt, though.
Yeah, he didn't do enough for me. He didn't really play. I think, Liam, we've got to put him in 9th, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
Oh, your next one is Nelson Semedo.
But he ain't 1st or 4th, so what was our next number?
6, isn't it?
That's a-
Yeah, I think it was number 6, wasn't he?
Yeah, sort that here. I think we put him in at 6
So you have it-
because he didn't set the world light up. Still. He did
He
not
was
set
in-
the world light up until the last 2 seasons. Remember when he came and he was dreadful? I think he was, man.
Everyone hated me around my area with Semedo. I couldn't stand him, but again, what I'll do to have him back in that squad as captain.
6 Nelson.
6 for Nelson, yeah.
It's mad how many we actually had, man. I'm really hoping that Guedes or Trincao come out as Vitinha, yeah.
Okay, so what you've got left is a 10, a 4, and a 1. I should hopefully make this nice and easy for you now, boys. The real king, Ruben Neves.
1.
Who did you say?
Ruben Neves.
Number 1. All day, hands down, give him
1.
the keys.
Number 1.
Easy.
Okay, so I believe you have 2 footballers left, and you've got a 10 and a 4. João Matinho.
It's
4.
definitely 4th. I didn't like the
Which
way he left. I
means-
think he could have left a bit better. So I'm glad that Rui was in front of him, to be fair.
Well, you'll like the last one anyway, because it's definitely not
just that-
Guedes. It's definitely not Trincao. It is Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto in far below Fabio Silva, Matheus Nunes, and Vitinha.
If we could do it again, I think
When
he
he
gets the
Celebrating the game.
Yeah, I
I
think he
like
gets
that.
7th placed, but I don't have
I like
much
that.
towards him, to be fair.
I'm in the
Quickly.
stadium booing him like a seagull on Saturday and then not put him in 10.
Deserves what he gets. Deserves what he gets. Big shout out to Ben Davies. He's a massive Nottingham Forest fan. So, yeah, I'm going on a stag do with him and about 24 other Nottingham Forest fans literally next week. So please, Wolves, if you're going to win only one more game for the rest of the season, please to God, let it be against Nottingham Forest, because I cannot go to Benidorm and they keep having my pants down all the time that I'm in Benidorm. What can I say? Boys, an hour and 25, we agreed to an hour, so we've obviously stuck to our usual guns and gone with at least an extra half an hour to what we usually do. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it was a podcast full of joy, as usual. But what can we say? At this moment in time, it's not fun trying to support Wolves. It's a chore, but it's a chore that we'll maintain. And it's a chore that we will forever do because of the love for the club and the love of Wolverhampton and Wolverhampton Wanderers. I, unfortunately, with the stag do and work, won't be able to go to the next 2 games. So I think it's over to say that next week's podcast, I obviously won't be here. and you two get the free reins of the old golden chat at your expense. I wish you all the best of luck, and do me prayer, boys.
This is our pod and it knows no division. Can we end the pod on a question though, please?
Let's go for it.
Do you think / do you want, so you can give me 2 answers,
They'll say,
Rob Edwards to start a championship campaign next season?
I'll go first, I know balls. Only because I'm a sucker for the fact that he says he wants to start the back four next year. I'm going to allow him at least 5 games in the championship.
5.
Yeah, because he's got 5 games to make sure he gets at least 3 wins and a draw on the board. If he don't, cut the head, get rid, bring in Carlo Ancelotti or something, because, we're going to smash the league after we spent 100 mil next year. Or at least that's what everybody thinks anyway. Yeah, I'll leave that over to you.
Look, I like Rob Edwards. I just want the best for Wolves. And if that, I don't know what that decision would be. I think that he can't go into finish the season, having a poor end to the season. I think you need the fans to be on board you straight away if you're going to start the season well. So I think a lot of it will depend on how we see the season out. I'd like to think that we give him a bit of a chance to get a bit of his squad. He's came into a squad that has been quite poor. I just think that he has a bit more work to do to try and get that overall feeling that everyone's going to be right behind him. If he does get the chance, I don't think he's got much space to breathe. I think he has to hit the season fast and flowing. And like I said, I don't think he'll have 5 games, but by October, we've got to be in that top 6 position. Otherwise, I think he will be at the door.
That, after the wise words of a dear friend would say, big shout out to Sam Alcock. Do you want to get rid?
I think we'll start the campaign with him. I don't want to start the campaign with him. That's where I'm sat. I don't feel like, unless he has, like him touches on, a horrific run from now until the end of the season, I can't see him not being the manager, especially with how he was brought in and the circumstances and the comments that have been said at his appointment and at the fan forum meeting as well. But I just think maybe I'm a sucker, maybe I'm an idiot for saying this, but it doesn't really excite me. And even though things have improved, and I think it was a ridiculously tough job for anyone to come into, for us to have been 8 points adrift when he came in, to potentially 21, I believe, come Wednesday night, is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm just not convinced that he is the man to guide us back up. That boyhood with that sheet that I saw today between him and Hellberg at Middlesbrough and Hellberg in the list of stats. Listen, it could have been made so that it shows Hellberg being better than Rob in every department. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that. But Hellberg in every sense has outperformed Rob Edwards, whether it be shots on target, XG against, goals conceded, possession. Eclipses him on every single stat. So yeah, I'm just a sucker for a foreign manager, and I'm a sucker for a foreign import in terms of signings as well. They just excite me a bit more.
The day to me, to be honest. I will very quickly leave you all with something that was tweeted out by days since the shit played last, which was a tweet that I put into our little chat earlier, and it's food for thought for everyone on how disappointing this season is, basing on a £835 season ticket, which I believe would either be the North Bank or the South Bank. We have paid £6.30 per shot. We have paid £17 per shot on target. We have paid £76 per goal this season. We have paid £167 per point this season, and we have paid £835 per win this season. Not great stats, boys. I'll let that somber thought sit in your head as we go and stuff Nottingham Forest next week. What should I say this week? The resurrection of Dan Hume and Tracy Ireland is going to happen, and I'll let you boys know when I've pulled off a Roberto Carlos masterclass and scored a few free kicks, boys. Thank you very much for coming on. Again, I wish you all the best for next week, and long live the old golden chat. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you're enjoying our content, and I appreciate all the love and support. If you could please like, subscribe and share to absolutely everyone, it would be much appreciated. And we will be back next week after doing Forest, doing Grimsby, and then telling everyone that We're so back and we're going to win the FA Cup. See you later.